You think faster trading means more money. I used to believe that too. I thought if I could read the market faster, react quicker, trade more often, I would grow my account faster. I thought speed was intelligence. I thought activity was progress. I thought being busy meant being professional. But the market taught me a painful lesson. The real difference between amateurs and professionals has nothing to do with intelligence, indicators, or secret strategies. It comes down to one thing: time frame discipline and psychological control. Amateurs fall in love with the 5-minute chart because it feels alive. Candles move fast, setups appear constantly. It creates excitement. It makes you feel important. Like you are in the center of the market's action. Professionals walk away from it, not because they cannot read it, but because they finally understand what it costs. Every tick on a fast chart creates a decision. Every wiggle creates doubt. Every micro move demands attention. And most of these decisions are illusions. Your brain starts mistaking noise for signal. Your ego starts mistaking speed for skill. You feel productive, but silently, trade by trade, your capital is being extracted. The 5-minute chart doesn't just change how you trade, it changes who you become as a trader. The 4-hour chart is not just a different time frame. It is a different identity. It forces patience when speed feels heroic. It demands confirmation when your nervous system screams for action. It requires waiting when every impulse inside you wants to trade now. And that waiting feels uncomfortable at first. But that discomfort is not weakness, it is strength being built. Most professional traders abandoned the 5-minute chart years ago. Not because it stopped working, but because they finally understood what it was doing to their minds. On fast charts, you are fighting your own biology. Your brain evolved to react quickly to movement. Thousands of years ago, this kept your ancestors alive. A shadow in the bushes could mean danger. In modern markets, that same survival system destroys trading accounts. On the 5-minute chart, every small fluctuation triggers stress hormones. Every pullback feels like a threat. Every bounce creates greed. You enter with confidence and exit with panic. You promise yourself you will do better next time. You don't. Because the environment hasn't changed. The 4-hour chart breaks this neurological trap. When you zoom out, noise shrinks. False signals collapse. Random fluctuations lose their power. What remains is structure, real structure, support built over weeks, resistance formed through repeated institutional testing, trends that reflect serious money, not emotional retail flow. This is why professionals trade higher time frames. Not because they are slow, because they are serious. Let me describe a moment you have lived many times. It is late afternoon, you are staring at a 5-minute chart, price touches support. Everything looks perfect. Momentum feels strong. The entry feels obvious, your heart rate increases. You size bigger than usual because conviction is high. 5 minutes later, price snaps back. Stop loss hit. 2% gone in minutes. An amateur says, "I'll make it back on the next trade." A professional was never in that trade. Why? Because on fast charts, nearly everything you see is noise. On higher time frames, price must prove itself. It cannot fake conviction for 4 hours. I once worked with a trader named Marcus. For 2 years, he lived on the 5-minute chart. Some months he made money, but his drawdowns were brutal. 3 strong weeks, then 2 days of emotional destruction. His account swung violently. 45,000 to 38,000. Back up. Then collapse again. When Marcus switched to the 4-hour chart, something strange happened. His win rate dropped. At first, he panicked. But then he noticed something else. His average winner more than tripled. His average loser shrank. His profit factor exploded. Why? Because he stopped trading appearances and started trading probability. Less frequency, more conviction. That is the professional covenant. Professionals do not guess, they confirm. They wait for pivotal points that matter. They demand structure to hold across multiple candles. They define risk before thinking about reward. They ensure the trade is worth the patience. If any piece is missing, they pass. No guilt, no impulse. Doing nothing is sometimes the best trade you will ever make. Amateurs equate inactivity with failure. Professionals equate inactivity with discipline. Passing on weak setups is not missing opportunity. It is protecting capital. Consistency is not about trading every day. It is about executing the same process regardless of boredom, emotion, or streaks. And this requires identity change. Not, "I sometimes trade the 4-hour chart," but "I am a 4-hour trader." Identity precedes behavior. Once that identity is set, you stop checking fast charts. You stop feeding the addiction to movement. You stop confusing activity with progress. Decision fatigue is real. The brain has limited capacity for quality decisions. On fast charts, that capacity is exhausted early. By the time a real opportunity appears, the trader is already mentally compromised. The 4-hour chart protects you by design. It limits decisions. It slows perception. It restores authority to the trader. You are no longer reacting. You are observing. This shift alone is more powerful than any indicator. Fast charts drain emotional energy even when you are not losing. Constant engagement exhausts the mind. Watching every tick conditions you to believe everything matters. The 4-hour chart teaches restraint by force. There is nothing to do most of the time. And in that silence, your impatience is exposed. Most traders say they cannot trade higher time frames. What they really mean is they cannot tolerate quiet. They cannot sit without stimulation. Until they master that internal discomfort, consistency will remain unreachable. Professionals are not calm because they are special. They are calm because they engineered their environment for calm decisions. Time frame is not a technical choice. It is a psychological environment. The 5-minute chart creates urgency. The 4-hour chart creates deliberation. One rewards impulse, the other punishes it. Higher time frames keep the thinking brain engaged. You are not in fight or flight. You are evaluating evidence. That is why professionals seem detached from individual trades. They are not emotionally invested in outcomes. They are invested in execution. Your real edge is not prediction. It is how you respond to uncertainty. Higher time frames reduce meaningless uncertainty and expose real structure. Institutions cannot hide on the 4-hour chart. Their footprints remain. This is why risk-reward improves naturally. You are aligning with direction, not guessing it. This also transforms trade management. On fast charts, traders micromanage because every tick feels dangerous. On higher time frames, trades are allowed to breathe. Pullbacks look normal. Retracements look healthy. This is why professionals stay in winners longer. They do not need to be right more often. They need to be right longer. Discipline is not forcing rules when it is easy. It is following rules when breaking them feels justified. The 4-hour chart removes excitement. That is why most traders fail at it. Not because it doesn't work, because their identity has not changed. A 5-minute trader seeks stimulation. A 4-hour trader seeks confirmation. A 5-minute trader fears missing out. A 4-hour trader fears poor execution. These are different mindsets. Professionals also survive drawdowns better. Fast charts trigger panic, traders escalate. They revenge trade. On higher time frames, losses unfold slowly. There is time to think, time to reduce size, time to protect capital. Waiting is not passive, waiting is preparation. Over time, you realize success is not about capturing every move. It is about avoiding the moves that damage you. Preserved capital is preserved opportunity. The market does not reward excitement. It rewards stability. Most traders fail not because they lack knowledge, but because they refuse to change how they experience the market. They want profits without patience. They want consistency without boredom. Professional trading is not thrilling. It is methodical. And that boredom is what protects capital and allows compounding. When you finally accept the 4-hour chart as a commitment, not an experiment, something changes. You stop fighting yourself. You stop arguing with the market. You start executing. And execution is where consistency lives. The market will always offer opportunity. But it only rewards those still standing when opportunity arrives. The 4-hour chart keeps you standing. Not because it is slower. Because it is wiser. You think faster trading means more money. You're wrong. Because the real difference between amateurs and professionals has nothing to do with intelligence, indicators, or secret strategies. It comes down to time frame discipline and psychological control. Amateurs worship the 5-minute chart because it feels active. Professionals abandon it because they finally understand what it costs. Every tick, every wiggle, every microcorrection on the 5-minute chart creates a decision point. Most of those decisions are illusions. Your brain mistakes noise for signal. Your ego mistakes speed for skill. And while you feel busy, your capital is quietly being extracted. The 4-hour chart isn't just a different time frame. It's a different identity. It demands patience when speed feels righteous. It requires confirmation when your nervous system screams for action. It forces you to wait when every impulse inside you wants to trade now. That waiting is not weakness. It's strength. Most professional traders abandoned the 5-minute chart years ago. Not because they couldn't read it, but because they finally understood what it does to the human mind. On fast charts, you're fighting your own biology. Your brain evolved to detect movement quickly because it kept your ancestors alive. In modern markets, that same survival mechanism destroys trading accounts. On the 5-minute small oscillation triggers cortisol. Every reversal triggers fear. Every bounce triggers greed. You enter with conviction and exit with panic. You promise yourself you'll do better next time. You don't. The 4-hour chart neutralizes this neurological trap completely. When you zoom out, noise compresses into insignificance. False signals collapse under their own weight. What remains is structure, real structure, support zones built over weeks, resistance formed through repeated tests, trend confirmation that institutions actually respect. This is why professionals trade the 4-hour chart. Not because it's slower, because it works. Here's a scenario you've lived more times than you can count. It's 2:47 p.m. You're staring at a 5-minute chart. Price tap support. Your pulse increases. Everything looks bullish. The entry feels obvious. You size heavy because conviction is high. 5 minutes later, price rejects and drops. Stop hit. You lose 2% of your account in minutes. An amateur says, I'll make it back on the next trade. A professional was never in the trade. Why? Because on the 5-minute chart, roughly 80% of what you see is noise. The 4-hour chart flips that ratio completely. It forces price to prove itself over time. It cannot fake conviction for 4 hours. A trader I worked with, let's call him Marcus, spent 2 brutal years grinding the 5-minute chart. Some months he was profitable, but his drawdowns were violent. 3 good weeks followed by 2 days of emotional destruction. His account swung wildly from 35,000 to 38,000, then up again, then collapsed. When Marcus switched to the 4-hour chart, his win rate actually dropped. That scared him at first, but then the numbers told the real story. His average winner more than tripled. His average loser shrank dramatically. His profit factor exploded. Why? Because he stopped trading appearance and started trading probability. Less frequency, more conviction. That's the professional covenant. This brings us to the confirmation protocol. Professionals don't guess.